All right, it's Brother Rob Wilson. Let's get right into this. The problem with woke racism. Whoopi, I mean Whoopsie Goldberg, her recent whoopsie on the Holocaust comments show exactly what the problem is with what John McWhorter calls in his new book, Woke Racism. Let's check this out. Let's get right into this so you can watch this whole video.
Under fire for something she said after a Tennessee school board removed a graphic novel about the Holocaust from its curriculum. Listen to this.
The Holocaust isn't about race.
That's what woke racism is. This is the fruit of critical race theory. It boils down individuals to someone else's identification of who they are. We lose all of our individuality, and people lose all of their ancestry under critical race theory ideology, which boils people down to their outside appearance and takes away from them their own history and their own experience in the world.
No, it's not about race. It's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about.
But it's about white supremacy. It's about
No, it's not about white supremacy either. It's about national supremacy because there was terrible atrocities committed against the Polish people too. It's about nation against nation, what the Bible talks about. Perilous times in the last days, for nation shall rise against nation, ethnos against ethnos.
It's not about
ideal race.
But these are two white groups of people.
We're all the same. We're all the same. We don't get to have a history. We don't get to self-identify. This whole ideology puts its identity of who people are. It classifies, identifies, and stigmatizes and dehumanizes people. It does the very thing that Nazi ideology did.
So others at the table, along with critics, pointed out that the Nazis, in fact, did see Jewish people as an inferior race. On The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, she appeared to stand by what she said. Listen to this.
I was saying you can't call this racism. This was evil. This wasn't based on the skin.
Have you come to understand that the Nazis?
This is what happens when you only see racism as skin color and you don't see it as one group of individuals who identify and collect together, or you don't see it as nation against nation. You see us all the same. You've classified and identified. It's all those. I always said before this whole new woke racism come up, I used to always say all of those people are not this, that, or the other. This is the root of racism, sexism, chauvinism, any kind of damaging ism comes from this ideology.
Saw it as race?
Well,
Because they might, like, asking the Nazis, they would say, yes, it's a racial issue.
well, see, this is what's interesting to me because the Nazis lied. It wasn't. They
This is what happens when you make up your own reality.
had issues with ethnicity, not with race, because most of the Nazis were white people, and most of the people they were attacking were white people.
That's the only way you see it. That's the only way woke racism sees us.
So to me,
All right, so Goldberg issued an apology on Twitter last night saying, quote, "I stand corrected. I'm sorry for the hurt that I have caused." During her Colbert appearance also last night, Goldberg also indicated that as a black woman, her experience as a black woman has led her to think of race as something that she can see, its skin.
That's the essentialism of how this ideology sees everyone. You're either like me or you're not like me. That's a racist ideology. Bang! That's a Nazi ideology.
But here's the point that needs to be made. The Holocaust, the Shoah, was not about race. It wasn't about skin color. Race was irrelevant. Hitler, if you read his odious diatribe Mein Kampf, or if you even read the Nuremberg laws of Nazi Germany, saw Jews as an inferior race, and they set about to systematically wipe them out off the face of the earth, 6 million souls. And
he called it an inferior race repeatedly.
He called it an
clearly
inferior
about race for him.
repeatedly.
Right. Yes.
And you diminish the uniquely Jewish.
And he defined Aryan as someone who was German. And so they also committed these horrible atrocities against gypsies and Poles and anyone else who was not of their national ilk, as they identified it. And they had different degrees to which you could be Aryan, and they had these charts and things I've seen. And the crazy thing is, CRT has the same type of charts that they used in Nazi Germany.
Horror and tragedy of which they've endured for millennia by trying to say that it's an all lives matter kind of a situation.
Right. But so the millennia is the key point here, right? So race is a social construct. It's an idea. We lump people together. We say that's one race. It's not a biological fact.
Right.
So, but the fact of prejudice against Jews for millennia has lumped them together, regardless of whether or not they're living in Venezuela or Iran or Germany, for that matter. They're made into a people by the rest of us, and so that reality exists. And
well, so are other people are also consider themselves people groups that are different. That they consider themselves by the nations they came from. Some people cling really deeply to their history. Okay, what nation their ancestors originated from. Some people are very proud of their culture, their German culture, their Polish culture, their Irish culture. We're not all just lumped into this one group. That's the problem. And each one of these groups has had horrible atrocities committed to them in the past. Even in Serbia, the ethnic cleansing, where one group tried to cleanse the nation of another group of individuals. Okay, I'm not an expert, but this is not uncommon in human history or in the human race. Okay, people do this, racists do this, and that's what's wrong with woke racism.
we seem to want to forget about it.
Well, now she's making the point that she should have made both points.
Should have made both points.
Yeah,
exactly.
that she should have made both points, that it's about race, that it's also about the inhumanity
It's also about
and
evil as well.
She had a
And I would say that that's what racism is. It is an inhumane and dehumanizing evil to classify, identify, and stigmatize people solely based on their skin tone and color. All of those people are not this, that, or the other. Amen? Can I get an amen? That's what's killing this nation. Racism and anti-racist racism.
conversation with Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL, who also informed her of what we just spoke about, that this was a uniquely Jewish tragedy. And as you pointed out, as I pointed out, that's something that they've endured for a millennia. This is something that Jews have had to deal with.
And it wasn't like you could renounce Judaism and then be saved by the Nazis, right?
Right.
They saw it as a permanent fact.
That's
of their
exactly right.
existence.
That's exactly right.
An immutable characteristic.
She did issue an apology on Twitter last night.
Well, until you drop the ideology that identifies people as you want to see them and identify them and solely by the exterior or their history, this is what woke racism creates. This is what critical race theory creates, because it classifies, identifies, and stigmatizes people solely based on melanin content. This is Brother Rob Wilson. Drop a comment, like, subscribe, share if you care. This, at the root cause of Whoopi's whoopsie, was woke racism. Peace. That's the truth.